Oh, we're live. Sorry, that was taking a whole process. Hey, what is up, everybody? I hope you all are doing okay today. So, we are going live just to honestly hang out, talk Godzilla stuff. I was reading through like some of the articles that were posted on to the internet, and I thought it would be interesting to kind of talk about it. So I'm going to let this live kind of start up and all that cool stuff just to get people in. And I am still trying to figure out how to do all this stuff. This is all pretty new to me. So without further ado, I found this one article. Let's go ahead and share the screen from the gamer. And it is titled The Seven Strongest Versions of Godzilla Ranked. And we are going to be checking it out today and just kind of talking about it, giving our opinions on it and all that cool stuff. And man, I want to start making live streams here like consistently, maybe a few times a week, and just go live and all that stuff and kind of just seeing, what it's about and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and read up on the seven strongest Godzilla's ranked. Now, I'll be completely honest, if Shin Godzilla's on here, I haven't watched that movie yet. So, it'll be interesting to see if he's on here because I know a lot of people love that film. It is obviously a very popular film among Godzilla and the whole Godzilla fandom and stuff like that. I just have never watched it and it came out like 8 years ago. So I need to go catch up on that, man. So without further ado, let me just transfer over back to here. And it is written by Uriel Nenji. I am so sorry if I'd completely butcher that name. So let's go ahead and read on through. Godzilla has been an ever constantly beloved and popular character in all forms of media and pop culture since his first appearance in 1954. Man, I got to be honest, guys. When Godzilla released in Japan back in 54, he pretty much just took over the entire world, man, like in the entire cinematic world. And it's just crazy to think about like how popular he is and how much of an impact that Godzilla has had on cinema throughout the history of its existence. So it's pretty cool. The King of the Kaiju has appeared in several films, comic books, anime, and video games. However, the movies are the most popular forms of recognizable Godzilla media. I know he's done a lot of crossover stuff in comic books and in animes, and he's had a couple of video games, especially in the late '90s, early 2000s. I remember growing up as a kid, man, in the early 2000s and playing those video games, and you're able to play as Godzilla, and you can fight like Rodan, Anguirus, Ghidorah, Mecha Godzilla. Those were fun games, but what I would ultimately love to see happen is, to have an actual kind of like I don't even know how you would really call that game, what kind of style it is and stuff like that, but where you can play as Godzilla or play as a human character and follow alongside a story and stuff like that. I think that would be really cool. But let me know y'all's thoughts on that, by the way. Would you like a actually story driven Godzilla game where you can play either as Godzilla or a character, or would y'all just kind of like to have the versus style, kind of like Mortal Kombat style games again? I think I wouldn't be complaining about either one, but hey, who knows? That's just me anyway. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. These appearances have given fans a variety of Godzilla stories, variants, and adventures to choose from. Most of these appearances aren't part of the same continuity. Yeah, there are so many different continuities, by the way. As such, there are several differences in the characters' abilities and feats. With so many different character variants, there will definitely be a few that stand out from the others in terms of power. So coming in at number seven, I assume that this is going to be from top to bottom, like in regards of just power. So this is technically the least powerful on the list. Um, I believe minus Godzilla is only seven because we've only gotten one film out of this guy so far, and that may be it. But man, I'll tell you what, when I saw him, and you only really see it a few times in the film, when I saw him kind of just use his atomic breath, man, that was a freaking blast. And I don't know what's already, I don't know what's next. I don't know what's on the rest of this list, but man, 7 and after that blast, that's crazy. Anyway, the minus Godzilla from Godzilla Minus One film is easily the most menacing and cool looking version of the character in terms of his simple base reptilian features and biology. Yeah, I mean, he does look really cool. However, the minus one Godzilla looks the part of a giant reptilian kaiju that is considered the king of monsters. This iteration has very pronounced and menacing spinal plates along the line of his back that look more like weapons than they do any other version of the character. Okay. The version is also one of the smaller iterations of the character, but that does not take away from the destructive abilities. The minus Godzilla has all the capabilities you would expect from the king of the monsters. Yeah, that's true. So, okay, that's number 7, minus Godzilla. Coming in at number 6 is Shin Godzilla. Like I said before, I haven't even watched um I haven't watched the Shin Godzilla movie yet, so this is pretty cool. What is up, scripted man? We are reading up on a list of the most powerful Godzillas, and I haven't read this article yet. So we are just sharing it and seeing what it's about. So we just ran through number 7, which is minus Godzilla, the one that just came out, which is a little shocking because although it is one of the smaller forms of Godzilla that we have ever had, man, I'll tell you what, man, when that atomic breath scene came about in the city, I guess I should have dropped a spoiler warning prior to that, but it didn't matter. That was a blast, dude. So I'm surprised that this is 7, but I haven't read up on the rest of the list yet, man. So coming in at number 6, Shin Godzilla. I have yet to see this movie, but what I have watched a fan theory kind of video where if they didn't defeat this guy, he would have just essentially have become God himself. And I will say Shin Godzilla is probably the scariest looking Godzilla, I could argue. I don't know, man. There have been some scary looking Godzillas, but man, I think he is probably like the most demonistic, I guess that's probably, I don't even know if that's a word or not, Godzilla that we have ever had. Um, but yeah, I think Shin Godzilla definitely went away from the mold of how Godzilla is technically supposed to look. I mean, they went away from like the heavy, bulky look of like Godzilla and just made him like skinnier and more animalistic looking. And as y'all can tell just by the teeth, man, that looks so scary. I mean, if I saw that walking my way, I think honestly I would probably die from just sheer shock before he's even able to get to me, honestly. And I think I would rather probably die that way before I was able to see that atomic breath coming at me, man. So that's coming in at number 6. That is a very, yeah, it's demonic looking, man. Dude, you can't tell me that doesn't look demonic, man. That's the word I was thinking of. Demonic. Yeah. Um that looks so scary. But anyway, that's number 6. It is definitely the most unique looking Godzilla variations that I think I've ever seen before. And it's probably one of the scary. I have a feeling I know what number 1 is, and I have a feeling that the number 1 Godzilla is probably the Netflix version of it, which is insane to even say that, that I can even say that, but I just have a weird feeling um that that's what it's going to be. Anyway, coming in at number 5 is the um Godzilla that I grew up on, and the Godzilla that I got introduced to as a kid is Millennium Godzilla. Um, Definitely one of my favorite designs. And this is from Godzilla 2000. I think I my first Godzilla film was uh, probably the 2004 film. And then from there, I watched Godzilla 2000. I remember watching this pretty much every weekend when I wasn't at school. So I can see how this would be number 5. I don't think it's one of the strongest, but I do understand in regards of like the fact that it has more films than the previous two, how it would be above those two. But man, I don't you give minus Godzilla a couple more films, and I think he honestly tops Millennium Godzilla, but I don't know. That's just my thought. This guy, I do love his design though. I think he looks a lot more grounded, and he dude just looks sexy though, man. You look sexy as hell. Yeah. So anyway, let's go ahead and check out number 4. Yeah, and by the way, before we even go on to number 4, I'm so happy this movie released in 1999 because I tell you what, there was an American Godzilla movie that released in that same exact year, and that's probably by far the worst Godzilla movie ever to have launched. I think his name was Zilla because they couldn't even use the word Godzilla. And I just pretend that that movie doesn't even exist, just simply because it was just one of the worst ones. Anyway, coming in at number 4, Final Wars. Yeah, yeah. So this is the Godzilla that I would routinely watch like twice a week growing up. Man, I was 5 years old at the time. Um, and I remember prior to this that my parents would have to read me a Godzilla book every night before bed just so I can go to sleep. And although I don't think he looks the most intimidating out of all of the Godzillas, I think he's one of the more least intimidating Godzillas, at least in regards to looks. But man, he has definitely been in the gym. Look at those shoulders. Look at the chest. Look at the traps, bro. He's been hitting bench press at least 3 times a week. This dude, I mean, don't get me wrong. He is scary. Yeah, and I think in regards of our generation, man, Final Wars is probably the movie that a lot of people grew up on. So definitely, it has a soft spot in my heart. I think it holds up with a lot of Godzilla films. Honestly, it obviously doesn't hold up against the original by any means. The original is the original, but it holds up really well comparatively to a lot of Godzilla movies, and I think it's a really strong Godzilla, don't get me wrong. Um, gosh, I would love just to have, like, a versus film where it's like a free for all where all the Godzillas come together and just see who wins. It goes on to say Final Wars Godzilla is seen in Godzilla Final Wars film as one of the most formidable versions of Godzilla in movies. While he may not be the biggest, the version of Godzilla still has an awe-inspiring destructive capabilities and high resistance to enemy attacks. However, what sets this monster apart from other versions is his intelligence. That is true. This dude was smart. And while some other iterations of him, he was more instinctual, man, it was almost like this dude plotted. And I don't know what's scarier. Is an instinctual Godzilla or a Godzilla that actually sits there and plots, right? I don't know, dude. I don't know. I don't know what's scarier, man. I guess that's for everybody's opinion. So, number 3, holy crap, is the Burning Godzilla from Godzilla versus Destroyer 1995. I will say, I think Godzilla versus Destroyer is probably my favorite um, Godzilla film of all time. Do I want to say that? Do I want to make that my confirmational decision? I don't know. It's definitely top 5. That's a whole nother list. It's one of my favorites, and I think this is probably a good spot for this character or this iteration of Godzilla. This I remember watching this for the first time when I was really young and thinking, "Man, this is probably the best scene in all of cinema." But of course, I was like 7. So I just remember how emotional this movie was, and I don't want to go into territory here, but man, it was just an absolute emotional um ride this whole movie was. And I think this is probably one of if you remember the scene, this scene was definitely one of the best scenes that we have ever gotten ever in the Godzilla franchise. Definitely top 10 in my opinion. So, with that being said, coming in at number 2, this is when we get into the interesting is legendary Godzilla. Yeah, and I already know what number 1 is. And all right, scripter man, good seeing you, dude. Um Legendary Godzilla. Yeah, yeah, I can see it. I could definitely see that. I could see how Legendary Godzilla would be number 2. I have a weird feeling I already know who number 1 is. But it goes on to say the Legendary Godzilla is the iteration of the King of the Monsters from the Legendary Pictures movies. This version of Godzilla is easily one of the biggest, strongest, and most destructive versions we've ever seen. He is capable of causing cataclysmic events in the world around him simply by moving around. Especially the fact that he just blew an atomic breath through the entire Earth. By the way, all the way through the atomic, not the atomic, the Hollow Earth, is absolutely insane. Definitely one of the strongest for sure, and I feel comfortable with him at 2. I think I feel comfortable with him at 2. So coming in at number 1, I think we all kind of know who number 1 is. Ooh, let me turn on this light. Hold on. There we go. Um, it's probably Godzilla Earth. Yeah. Ah, holy crap. Godzilla Planet of the Earth features the biggest and most powerful version of Godzilla in any movie. This version of Godzilla was so powerful that he drove humanity from Earth and had the planet all to himself. However, this is not its most powerful state. Thousands of years later, humanity launches a mission to reclaim Earth, only to find that Godzilla, unchallenged and unrivaled, has grown in size and power to his most powerful state. Wow, I don't know what's going on in my freaking throat right now. This version of Godzilla has evolved into his ultimate form and even developed new powers and abilities. With his enormous size, ferocity, and incredible healing factor, and new abilities, it is impossible to see any other versions rivaling Godzilla Earth. That is true. Um, I remember watching this whole trilogy of Godzilla, Planet of the Monster, this whole thing on Netflix and thinking, it's a shame that we have the most powerful Godzilla here and that it is so poorly received. I don't know if it was from a lack of marketing or just a lack of care or whatever the case may be. It's a shame that this guy was treated as poorly as he is. So, yeah, I remember watching that whole trilogy and just thinking, damn, man, this guy is scary. And I can definitely tell why it is the most intimidating and powerful Godzilla. So, that's the list. We'll go through. Number 7 is Minus Godzilla. Number 6 is Shin Godzilla. 5 is Millennium. 4 is The Final Wars Godzilla. Number 3 is Burning Godzilla. Number 2 is Legendary Godzilla. Number 1 is Godzilla Earth. That is the list, and that is a pretty decent list, I say. And let's go ahead and stop sharing that and go back here. So yeah, let me go ahead and type in. I think we can do polls in here. Can we do polls? Add option. Do y'all agree with this list? There we go. You can do, go ahead, delete that. Yes or no. There we go. And we can just go ahead and end that list there. Man, yeah, that was a good ass list, man. So, coming up on our second topic of discussion of today, and man, I got work in about an hour, so this may not be too long of a list or a stream, as I should say. We're gonna go ahead and share screen. Let's go ahead and share that. Share that. And we are going to be reading up on MonsterVerse's new Titan reveal, hints at Titanus, Doug's Godzilla Kong roll. Now, guys, I wish all these ads would go away. Let's go ahead and close these down. These two have got to be related in a weird way, right? Like Godzilla and Doug have got to be related in some sort of fashion, right? I hope they are. Like, I hope that they just write that in somehow, right? And man, that'd be awesome. Anyway, let's go ahead and read on through. A new MonsterVerse Titan teased to appear in Godzilla Kong: The New Empire hints that at the role Titanus Doug will have in the movie. Titanus Doug is the name that was affectionately given by fans to the grinning, crab-eating lizard in Godzilla vs. Kong. The name was immediately embraced by legendary and Godzilla vs. Kong director Adam Wingard and has been adamant that Titanus Doug will make an appearance in the upcoming sequel. So, and then it goes on to list off all the movies: Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, Godzilla vs. Kong, Godzilla the New Empire, and then the TV shows Skull Island. By the way, do we want to consider Skull Island canon? Is that a fair question? And Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Obviously, Monarch Legacy of Monsters, if I were to go back and just give an overall opinion on that show, I think it does a lot of great stuff when it comes to lore building and stuff like that. Me personally, I just love my monster action, but I think it does do a great job at what am I trying to say? It does a great job at bringing more of a balance on human and monster kind of stuff. So I think it does a great job at doing that. And that's just my overall thoughts on it. I think it's an amazing show. And if you haven't already, go ahead and give that a watch, man. I think it's awesome. Godzilla vs. Kong provides very little clues as to what to expect from Titanus Doug when he returns. The scene that made Titanus Doug an instant fan favorite consisted of only one shot, which saw the creature devour a small crab monster when the human characters were arriving in the Hollow Earth. Because there wasn't any room in the story for the movie to establish any further details about the creature, what part it'll play in the sequel is unknown. Its absence from Godzilla Kong trailers maintained that mystery. I have an official um, opinion, man. I think he is going to be related to Godzilla, and he is going to be Godzilla's successor. Calling it now. Just kidding. Um, Anyway, one of the movie's new creatures may factor into where Titanus Doug fits into the bigger picture. The Godzilla at Krong, or Jesus, Krong. What is Krong, Wyatt? Godzilla Kong trailer unveiled a baby ape titan that looks to be of the same orangutan-like species as the monster versus Car King, which is listed above here. Its juvenile appearance combined with previous rumors of the Godzilla versus Kong sequel being a Son of Kong story. So I guess King Kong, which is going to be very interesting, by the way, that King Kong is going to be taking him in and raising him as his own. And which is going to be very interesting, by the way. Can I just point out that Scar King looks huge? So if he's related to the Scar King, he's going to grow up to be significantly bigger than King Kong. So that's going to be interesting to see that dynamic. Indicates it'll be taken under Kong's wing and perhaps act like a protagonist in its own right. It's not enough to fit any giant monsters, but it could very well be in the same size categories as the Hollow Earth Lizard. With that in mind, it's possible Titanus Doug is part of the baby ape titan story. How is that? How are they going to do that? I know this is a theory, but man, that's going to be interesting. A new toy line for Godzilla Kong: The New Empire supports this notion. Okay, an action figure of the new monster, which the toy line has named Suko, is packaged with Titanus Doug. Oh, okay. The pairing confirms nothing on its own, but goes hand in hand with the idea that because of their similar sizes, they'll be sharing screen time. Man, do you think like because like they're similar in stature that the baby Kong looks to be more, more comfortable with it? And by the way, which is crazy because if we were to scroll up, he is baby size in the Hollow Earth, but I mean, dude, he may be so big that like I'm probably as tall as his hips or maybe his stomach. That dude's probably like 7'3" already. And maybe he's like already 10 feet. Um, so anyway, blah 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 blah. Okay, it could be that in addition to Godzilla and Kong's respective challenges, Godzilla Kong will highlight Zuko's Monsterverse adventure and show him crossing paths with Titanus Doug. Zuko may even make friends with the lizard. That would be cool. And like I said, like Titanus Dog may be smaller in comparison to um, you know, Godzilla, King Kong, Scar King. But I mean, like that dude is still huge, and like he's just absorbing all of that radiation down there. So that dude still freaking huge, by the way. Titanus Dog's diet in Godzilla vs. Kong proves that it's carnivorous in nature, but that doesn't mean it'll necessarily identify the humans or Suko as prey. Suko befriending Titanus Dog feels much more plausible than the lizard being used in any sort of antagonistic manner. The expression on its face in Godzilla vs. Kong, which was regarded by many to be a smile, has heavily influenced its reputation with fans. Excuse me. Despite only appearing in one scene, Titanus Dog has already been accepted as a friendly Hollow Earth monster, hence the non-threatening name chosen for the monster. That is true. He does look like he's just chilling, and he has like like the build of like what are those dogs? It's like not a pug, but oh, I forget. Bulldog. He has like the stature of like the bulldog, the stocky nature and stuff like that. So he's probably just chilling, to be honest. He's probably just chilling. Of course, the movie doesn't have to accept this interpretation, but like, I just don't see the benefit of it accepting the fact that this dude's going to be a villain. I don't see any kind of benefit coming from that. So you may as well just have him like as a protagonist because I think that would bring more excitement among fans, and I think that would make things a little bit more fun. And I already know that people are kind of hit or miss with how these monsters have been portrayed. So already in the trailer, which I don't know. I'm excited for the movie regardless. So you may as well just make them good, right? Um, there we go. Let's go ahead and scroll on down. But based on how Wingard has welcomed the response to Titanus Doug, it's hard to imagine the Monsterverse rejecting it. Rather than see Titanus Doug menace the Godzilla Kong cast, chances are Titanus Doug will join the Monsterverse's small lineup of benevolent think that's it. But oh, I can't pronounce that. Titans. If that happens, the creature can accompany Suko and possibly Godzilla Kong's human character as they traverse the Hollow Earth world. So maybe he could be like a guide of some sort. Don't know if he has the intelligence for it, but we'll see. Pulling it into their side of the narrative would give the MonsterVerse ample opportunity to, as Wingard has said, get its money worth out of Titanus Tug. That's an ugly bird. So yeah, kind of goes on to say um some more stuff, but I think that would be a really fun time, to be honest. If he could just accompany uh the baby Kong along his journey. That is pretty cool. So that might be the end of the stream. I just wanted to get on here for a quick 30 minutes and kind of just chill out, talk a little bit and all that cool stuff about some Godzilla stuff. Talked about a ranking and we talked about Titanus Doug. I would love to get back on here, maybe make this a weekly thing where I just kind of pull some movie news and just talk about some stuff, man. I think that would be really fun. And I'm just making sure that isn't bright. Anyway, so yeah, thank y'all so much for tuning in. And man, I will see you guys in the next one. I will be uploading some more trailer reactions as soon as possible. And thank you all again so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.